1930 Uruguay, the first ever World Cup. Only 13 teams bothered showing up because most European countries took one look at the 2-week boat journey to Uruguay and said absolutely not. Uruguay hosted, won and beat Argentina 4-2 in the final in front of 93,000 screaming fans. No qualification rounds existed. FIFA just sent invitations like it was a birthday party. Football's biggest tournament started with 13 teams, a boat that took half a month, and vibes. 1934, Italy. Mussolini desperately wanted a propaganda victory and conveniently got exactly that. Italy hosted and won under circumstances so suspicious that conspiracy theorists are still having a field day years later. Referees made questionable decisions favouring Italy throughout the tournament, because apparently that's just what happened in the 1930s. They beat Czechoslovakia 2-1 in the final after extra time. The defending champions Uruguay refused to attend because Europe had completely ghosted their tournament 4 years earlier. 16 teams qualified. This was the World Cup where politics infected football and nobody pretended otherwise. 1938, France. Italy won again, becoming the first back-to-back champions, which sounds impressive until you remember they'd rigged the first one. They beat Hungary 4-2 in the final. Austria qualified but couldn't actually compete because Germany had casually annexed them. Spain pulled out because they were slightly busy with a civil war. This was the last World Cup before World War II ruined everything for 12 years. Brazil and Poland played a 6-5 thriller that people somehow still remember, despite the apocalypse arriving shortly after. 15 teams competed. War was coming and everyone knew it. 1950. Brazil. The World Cup returned after 12 years and immediately delivered pure chaos. Uruguay shocked Brazil in what wasn't technically a final, but everyone treats it like one anyway. Brazil only needed a draw to win at home. They lost 2-1 in front of 200,000 devastated fans at the Maracanã. The entire nation went into mourning. 13 teams competed. England attended their first World Cup, immediately lost 1-0 to the United States in the biggest upset in tournament history, and learned that being inventors of football doesn't automatically make you good at it. 1954, Switzerland. West Germany won their first World Cup in what Germans still call the Miracle of Bern, because they're not wrong. They beat the mighty Hungarians 3-2 in the final despite being such massive underdogs that bookmakers weren't even taking bets. Hungary had won 31 consecutive matches before that final. They'd absolutely demolished West Germany 8-3 in the group stage just 2 weeks earlier. Then they somehow lost the final anyway. 16 teams competed. This tournament had the highest goals per game average in World Cup history at 5.4 per match, because nobody had discovered defending yet. 1958, Sweden. A 17-year-old Pelé casually announced himself as the greatest player on the planet. Brazil won their first World Cup, beating Sweden 5-2 in the final, while the host nation watched in horror. Pelé scored twice in the final and 6 goals in the tournament, like it was nothing. Just Fontaine scored 13 goals for France, which is still a World Cup record that will genuinely never be broken. 16 teams competed. Brazil's yellow shirts became iconic. This was the tournament where Brazil went from being just another South American team to becoming the final boss of international football. 1962, Chile. Brazil won again without Pelé for most of the tournament, which proved they weren't just a one-man team. Pelé got injured in the second group match, but Garrincha carried them to victory anyway. They beat Czechoslovakia 3-1 in the final. This was the most violent World Cup ever held. The Battle of Santiago between Chile and Italy was so brutal that the referee probably needed therapy afterward. Police had to intervene on the pitch multiple times. 16 teams competed. Brazil proved they were more than just Pelé by winning without him, while everyone else proved they'd rather kick each other than play football. 1966, England. England won their only World Cup on home soil and have never stopped talking about it since. They beat West Germany 4-2 after extra time in the final. Jeff Hurst scored a hat-trick, including the most controversial goal in football history that definitely maybe possibly crossed the line, depending on who you ask. 16 teams competed. North Korea shocked Italy 1-0 in the group stage, and Italy was so embarrassed they didn't qualify for the next World Cup. This tournament made England believe they were football royalty, which is hilarious, considering they've won absolutely nothing since. 1970, Mexico. The greatest World Cup ever played, and it's not even close. Brazil won their third title and got to keep the Jules Rimet trophy permanently as a reward for being absolutely ridiculous. They demolished Italy 4-1 in the final with the most beautiful football ever witnessed by human eyes. Pelé, Jairzinho, Carlos Alberto and Rivellino created pure magic. Every game was broadcast in colour for the first time so people could actually see how good this team was. 16 teams competed. This Brazil team is considered the greatest international side ever assembled, and anyone who disagrees is simply wrong. 1974, West Germany. Total Football arrived and promptly lost the final. Netherlands revolutionized football with the most beautiful attacking system ever conceived, but Germany beat them 2-1 anyway because efficiency beats artistry. Johan Cruyff was absolutely brilliant, but Germany were more clinical, and that's apparently what matters. West Germany won on home soil. 16 teams competed in a new format with 2 group stages that made the tournament last forever. This was the tournament where attacking football became an art form, but Germany proved that scoring one more goal than your opponent is the only stat that actually counts. 1978, Argentina. Argentina won on home soil under a military dictatorship which was, unsurprisingly, controversial. They beat Netherlands 3-1 after extra time in the final. Massive controversy surrounded Argentina's extremely convenient 6-0 demolition of Peru, which sent them through to the final at Brazil's expense. The confetti and ticker tape at the final created iconic images that everyone remembers. Mario Kempes scored twice in the final. 16 teams competed. Politics and football mixed uncomfortably again, but Argentina got their trophy, so mission accomplished, apparently. 1982, Spain. Italy won their third World Cup, which was impressive considering their best player had literally just returned from a match-fixing ban. Paolo Rossi scored 6 goals after sitting out 2 years for corruption, which is definitely the redemption arc football needed. They beat West Germany 3-1 in the final. Brazil's 1982 team played the most beautiful football of the tournament, but lost 3-2 to Italy in one of the greatest games ever because apparently being gorgeous isn't enough. 24 teams competed for the first time. This expanded format meant more games, more drama, and more teams getting humiliated on the world stage. 1986, Mexico. Diego Maradona's personal World Cup, where everyone else was just supporting cast. Argentina won, but this tournament belongs entirely to one man. He scored the Hand of God goal and then immediately scored the greatest World Cup goal ever in the same match against England, because he's nothing if not dramatic. He essentially dragged Argentina to victory single-handedly while his teammates watched in awe. They beat West Germany 3-2 in the final. 24 teams competed. One man dominated an entire tournament so completely that 38 years later we're still talking about him instead of literally anyone else. 1990 Italy. The worst World Cup ever played, and it's not even debatable. Defensive football dominated to the point where watching paint dry was more entertaining. Fewest goals per game in history because apparently nobody wanted to actually score. West Germany beat Argentina 1-0 in the final with a controversial penalty in what might be the most boring final ever played. Cameroon shocked Argentina in the opening match, which was the tournament's only interesting moment. Roger Milla danced at the corner flag at 38 years old and became everyone's favourite player. 24 teams competed. England reached the semi-finals, lost to West Germany on penalties, and Gaza cried, which somehow made him a national icon despite losing. 1994, USA. Brazil won on penalties after a 0-0 draw with Italy because apparently 120 minutes wasn't enough time for either team to score a goal. The first World Cup ever decided on penalties, which is exactly how everyone wanted football's biggest prize to be determined. Roberto Baggio missed the decisive kick and became the saddest man on earth. 24 teams competed. Colombia's Andres Escobar was killed after scoring an own goal in a tragedy that shocked the football world. Maradona failed a drug test and got sent home early. Average attendance was 69,000 per game, despite Americans supposedly not caring about football at all. 1998 France. France won their first World Cup on home soil, which is totally unexpected and definitely not a pattern at this point. They absolutely destroyed Brazil 3-0 in the final. Zinedine Zidane scored twice with headers and became a national hero overnight. Ronaldo had a seizure before the final, somehow played anyway despite clearly not being fit, and looked completely lost the entire match. 32 teams competed for the first time, which meant even more nations could experience the humiliation of getting knocked out. This was the tournament where France proved they belonged among football's elite nations by winning at home like everyone else does. 2002 South Korea and Japan. The tournament was co-hosted by South Korea and Japan, the first and only time the World Cup has ever been split between two countries. Brazil won their fifth World Cup, which meant they officially had more than anyone else. They beat Germany 2-0 in the final with 2 Ronaldo goals. The tournament was co-hosted for the first time, which sounds lovely until you remember the chaos. South Korea reached the semi-finals with the most suspiciously favourable refereeing in World Cup history, helping them beat Italy and Spain in matches that still make fans furious 2 decades later. 32 teams competed. Senegal shocked defending champions France in the opening match. Turkey somehow finished third. This World Cup proved Asia could host successfully, but also proved that home advantage plus questionable officiating can take you remarkably far. 2006 Germany. Italy won their 4th World Cup on penalties after a 1-1 draw with France because scoring goals in finals is apparently optional now. Zinedine Zidane headbutted Marco Materazzi in extra time of his final professional match and got sent off, which is genuinely the most French way to end a career imaginable. Italy won the shootout anyway. 32 teams competed. This was the tournament where Zidane's legendary career ended with him losing his cool in spectacular fashion on the biggest stage in football, but Italy got their 4th star, so everyone's happy. 2010 South Africa. Spain won their first World Cup by playing the most boring effective football imaginable. They beat Netherlands 1-0 in the final with an extra-time Andres Iniesta goal. The final was absolutely brutal with 14 yellow cards because both teams decided kicking each other was more fun than playing football. Spain played tiki-taka and won every knockout game 1-0, which is technically winning, but also deeply tedious. 32 teams competed. This was Africa's first World Cup. The vuvuzelas never stopped making that horrible noise for 1 single second. Spain completed their golden era after winning Euro 2008 and Euro 2012 by proving that possession football works if you're willing to bore everyone to death. 2014 Brazil. Germany absolutely annihilated Brazil 7-1 in the semi-final on Brazilian soil in the most humiliating defeat in World Cup history. Brazil's entire nation watched in horror as their team got destroyed at home. Germany then beat Argentina 1-0 in the final with a Mario Götze extra-time goal. 32 teams competed. James Rodriguez scored 6 goals for Colombia and won the Golden Boot despite his team getting knocked out. Brazil's World Cup dreams died spectacularly at the Mineirão Stadium in a match that traumatized an entire country. Germany became the first European team to win in South America by scoring 7 goals in one match against the hosts, which is genuinely the most disrespectful thing imaginable. 2018 Russia. France won their 2nd World Cup with a team full of teenagers who played like they'd been doing this for decades. They beat Croatia 4-2 in the final. Kylian Mbappé announced himself at 19 years old by terrorizing everyone. Croatia reached their first ever final with a population of only 4 million people, which is genuinely impressive. 32 teams competed. VAR was introduced to ruin everyone's celebrations and make sure goals took 5 minutes to confirm. Germany got eliminated in the group stage as defending champions because apparently winning the World Cup means you immediately forget how to play football. This was the tournament where young France proved they were the future by steamrolling everyone. 2022, Qatar. Argentina won their third World Cup, and Lionel Messi finally got his trophy in what might be the most scripted ending to a football tournament ever witnessed. Argentina beat France 4-2 on penalties after a 3-3 draw in the best final ever played. Kylian Mbappe scored a hat-trick in the final and still lost, which is genuinely tragic. 32 teams competed. The tournament was held in winter for the first time because playing in 50-degree heat seemed like a bad idea. Morocco became the first African team to reach the semi-finals. Messi's last World Cup ended with him lifting the trophy while crying, which is exactly how FIFA drew it up. The perfect ending to the perfect career, at the perfect time, in the perfect tournament that definitely wasn't controversial at all. And that's every World Cup from 1930 to 2022, 92 years of football history. If you enjoyed this, hit subscribe for more football content.